Hello everyone and welcome back to more Umineko When They Cry. So, I did take the liberty of trying to install an update to the patch that I was using, so hopefully Krause's sprite will be fixed. I am not 100% though, because obviously I can't tell until it gets to the point where he would use that particular sprite. So we'll just have to wait and see if it works. I'm hoping it will also fix the volume a little bit, but I'm not 100%, and I'm not very good with coding, so I don't know what to do beyond that. So I hope you guys appreciate for now what's going on, and I've explained it as best I can, so let's just get on with it and hope that everything is a little bit improved. Can the weather change how people act? You often hear stories about how things like atmospheric pressure can influence people's moods and physical health. For some time now, everyone had been struggling to clear the gloomy atmosphere, but any conversation was quickly cut off, and in the end the dining hall was simply filled by the sound of the rain. Dessert was some kind of chocolate cake accompanied by pear sherbet. That doesn't really sound like a tasty mix to me. Goda-san enthusiastically explained the recipe as soon as this final dish was presented. But I quickly forgot the details. The guest of honour, grandfather, was absent, the weather was horrible, and the identity of the one who'd lent Maria an umbrella remained a mystery. Does it really matter that much, really? When dinner ended, no one felt even one bit refreshed. It was too late now, but I realised painfully that taste wasn't the only important part of the meal. The whole atmosphere was also critical. Goda-san, the supposed conductor of this musical piece called Dinner, did his best to enliven the place, dropping little jokes left and right, but apparently not one of them succeeded. After taking orders for another after-dinner coffee, tea and orange juice, he left for the kitchen. As soon as he disappeared, Uncle Krause spoke.
せっかくゴーダが腕を振るってくれた晩餐もこうも沈み込んでしまっては実に味気ないというものだ。
まったくね。今日は何を食べても美味しく感じられない、そういう気分よ。
ほう、どうしてそういう気分なのか聞きたいね。心が晴れ晴れできるよう兄として後で協力させてもらうよ。
Aunt Ava grimaced slightly. I'd already heard she wasn't on good terms with Uncle Krause, but it was pretty darn clear now. When I looked around, I noticed that my father and Aunt Rosa were also grimacing. Apparently there was something besides the weather troubling all of them.
エヴァおばさんもうちの親父もずいぶん機嫌が悪そうっすね。
そう？私はそうは思いませんよ。
I asked Aunt Natsuhi, who was sitting on my right, but she seemed to be in a bad mood as well. She snapped back as if to say she was absolutely not interested. Well, that's kind of rude.
まあちょいと大人な話で込み入ってな。バトラ君たち子供は気にせんでええ話や。
Basically, everybody's being sore losers because Krause one-upped them all.
なあ夏井さん、キリエさん。
Uncle Hideyoshi laughed as he spoke, but without his usual brightness. So I could vaguely imagine just how complicated their adult conversation had become. On top of that, even Aunt Natsuhi and Kirie-san, the people he had directed his comment to, ignored him as though they hadn't heard anything. I didn't know what kind of conversation they'd been having while us kids were away, but it reminded me of how Dad said he had stomach cramps when we arrived at the mansion. The family conference might have been a playful reunion to us kids, but it was definitely different for the adults. After Uncle Hideyoshi's comment was ignored by the other adults, and an awkward silence fell over the room, Kirie-san spoke up.
子供たちの進路はどうなるのかしらとか、そういう話よ。
Oh, that's not going to make them feel very good.
バトラ君は将来はどうするの？ぼんやりと大学進学？そんなのじゃ長い人生レースのスタートラインとしては心細いわよ。
あいたたたたたった。キリエさん、飯の最中にそんな話されちまったら消化不良で便秘になっちまうぜ。
Oh, good old Battler trying to keep the conversation light-hearted.
そうやそうや、バトラ君やジェシカちゃんの進路の話をしとったんや。将来のことは真剣に考えんとあかんで。
Hideyoshi heartily agreed, as if they really had been talking about that, but that was probably wrong. Yeah, it doesn't take a genius to work out that that probably wasn't what they were talking about. Kirie-san had been obviously trying to change the subject. However, if Kirie-san had determined that this was the best course of action for now, then she was probably right. Taking this into account, I cast aside my suspicions as to the cause behind Aunt Ava and Dad's bad moods. At long last, the serving cart returned, filled with coffee and tea. Kumasawa-san and Shannon-chan served it to everyone. Goda-san then explained that this concluded tonight's meal. If only the mood had been a bit more cheery, it might have been the best dinner in my life. It was a shame this best of dinners couldn't have been had under the best conditions.
ジョージお兄ちゃん、これでご飯は終わり？終わり？
うん、これでおしまいだよ。
はしてないわよ。お席について落ち着いてジュースを飲みなさい。
Maria looked like she was really excited by the occasionally crashing thunder. Maybe she wanted to quickly finish eating and run over to the window. She had been fidgeting for a while, waiting for the meal to end. Some people are afraid of thunder, while others find it interesting, and Maria was apparently one of the latter sort. Yeah, I actually really like storms. I like the sound of thunder and I like looking at lightning, and it's actually quite soothing for me. Like, the rain can help me sleep, so I kind of understand that. Therefore, when she heard from George and Nikki that dinner was over, a huge smile broke across her face. She then rose from her seat, took out her handbag, which she'd set under her seat, never having left it, even while she was eating, and began fishing around inside of it. No one seemed particularly concerned by this behaviour.
なんだい？どこから持ってきたの？
George was the first to notice it. As he spoke, Battler noticed too. I find the text a bit confusing because sometimes it's from Battler's perspective and sometimes it's just from some other third party, so it's a bit confusing for me to follow that sometimes. They saw that Maria was now holding a beautiful Western-style envelope. On the front of the envelope, the Ushiromiya family crest, the one-winged eagle, was done in a gold leaf. Furthermore, the fact that it was sealed with dark red wax made it clear that this wasn't something Maria could have brought as a prank.
マリアちゃん、それは何？
It seemed that Natsuhi had also noticed the strangeness of the envelope Maria was holding. Her voice sounded too serious for someone admonishing a small child, so the relatives around us finally noticed too.
どうしたよ、夏日姉さん。
それ何？
マリ、あなた、それをどこで拾ったの？
その封筒は金蔵さんの。
When Nanjo muttered that, even us kids could understand why everyone seemed to be frozen solid. The envelope that Maria held was one of the Ushiromiya family head's custom-made envelopes for private use. In other words, it could only mean one thing. This envelope contained a message from Kinzo.
どうしてそんな封筒がここにあるんだね。こいつは面白いもんが飛び出してくるぜ。
ちょいとわしに見せてみ。
ダメ、マリアが読むの。マリアがみんなに読んで聞かせなさいって言われたの。
Uncle Hideyoshi tried to snatch the envelope out from Maria's hands, but she protected it as though hugging it and didn't let go.
秀吉兄さん、子供相手に力ずくなんていけませんよ。
It's not really any of Hideyoshi's business anyway, because it's a family seal, and he's not a blood relative, and as far as these guys see it, he's inferior. So should he really be allowed to snatch it away and read it?
マリアちゃん、その封筒はどうしたの？
傘を貸してくれた時にベアトリーチェにもらった。ご飯が終わったらマリアがみんなに読んで聞かせろって言われた。マリア
メッセンジャーこの島の魔女様は随分と洒落てるじゃねえかよ。
Battler tried to joke about it, but no one laughed.
それで中には何て書いてあるのかしら、マリアちゃん。
Yeah, she's done really well to hide it all of this time. Maria casually opened the envelope. It was sealed only with wax, so she just had to remove the sealing wax to open it. That sealing wax fell onto the desk. Hideyoshi hastily picked it up and stared fixedly at it. He then set it in the centre of the table, where Natsuhi, Kirie and Nanjo stared at it. Imprinted in the sealing wax was the one-winged eagle, which was the Ushiromiya family crest, and also Kinzo's personal crest.
当主様の紋章。
私は金蔵さんに手紙をもらったことがあるからわかる。これは間違いなく金蔵さんの風浪だ。
でもこのお屋敷にはそれと同じ紋章がいくつもあるのでは？例えば風浪用のハンコのようなものがあれば金蔵さんでなくても風浪はできるのでは？
いや、金蔵さんは風浪には必ず自分が指にしている後宮家当主の証の指輪で刻印をする。この形や複雑な意匠は間違いなく金蔵さんの風浪だ。
But they already stated that Kinzo wouldn't go and give Maria the umbrella, so why would he deign to give her this envelope? So he must have given it to Beatrice to then hand off to Maria.
そうとは限らんよ。親族であれば一度くらいは親父の手紙を受け取ったことはあるはずだ。
Unless Beatrice, of course, also has a similar ring.
その風浪をもとに偽の紋章を作り、親父殿を語って刻印した可能性が否めない。
兄貴に同感だ。風浪に刻印されている紋章がどれだけ親父のものに酷似していたとしても間違いだからその封筒が親父のものであるという証拠にはならない。
私も全く同じよ。風浪の刻印だけでお父様の手紙だなんて決めつけることには同意できないわ。南條先生、曖昧な言葉は慎んでいただけるかしら。
これは失礼。出過ぎた口でしたな。
It's not really Nanjo's fault though, is it? One after another, all of the siblings from Kraus on downwards rejected Nanjo's statement, saying that the envelope Maria held wasn't necessarily from Kinzo. Well, she's already said that it was from Beatrice. They were afraid. They feared from the bottom of their hearts that Kinzo's intentions were written in there, and that it might be some announcement regarding the inheritance that would be decidedly unfavourable to them.
マリア、その封筒は傘を貸してくれた人がくれたのね。じゃわからないでしょ。そうなの？
つまり魔女ベアトリーチェが傘と一緒に マリアちゃんのその封筒を。
Maria nodded forcefully.
主人に私も同感です。得体の知れない何者かが手渡した怪文書です。読むには値しません。
せめて読むくらいいいじゃん。
What do you mean it's not even worth reading? Wouldn't she even be like little bit curious as to what was going on inside it? They've already decided that it's not Kinzo, so... Battler said it to Jessica in a small voice, trying to act tough, but Natsuhi heard him clearly and glared at him with threatening eyes.
それでもそのベアトリーチェに食事が終わったら読めって言われたんだね。
いいじゃないの皆さん。これはおじい様の封筒ではなくベアトリーチェの封筒。誰が書いたのかはともかく中身を聞いてからの判断でもいいんじゃないかしら。
そうやな。お父さんが書いたとは限らんが、中身が気になるのは事実や。マリアちゃん、さっきは無理やり取ろうとしてすまんかった。謝るからみんなの前でそれ読み上げてくれんか。
マリア、読みなさい。
As all the relatives stared fiercely at Maria, she spread the letter open with a rustle.
本当に親父の手紙だと思うか。ありえんね。親父殿が私たちに何かを発表するときは直接でなければいつだって源氏を通してじゃないか。このようなこじゃれた方法でするとは思えんね。
そうよ、マリアをメッセンジャーに。それこそお父様の趣味じゃないわよ。ローザ、これはマリアちゃんが私たちを脅かそうという何かの隠し芸なんでしょ。
Somehow I don't think Maria has the foresight to do something like this.
マリアはそんな気の利いたことができる子じゃないわ。
I think I put it in a nicer way than Rosa did. Well, thank you, Wind, for stopping right at this moment. The words came out of Maria's mouth, but for some reason, her voice seemed different than usual. Everyone went suddenly silent.
ロッケン島へようこそ、Ushiromiya家の皆様方。私は金蔵様にお仕えしております、当家顧問錬金術師のベアトリーチェと申します。
そんなアホな。
Oh, shush, Hideyoshi. You don't know anything.
黙って。
長年にわたりご契約に従いお仕えしてまいりましたが、本日金蔵様よりその契約の終了を宣告されました。
Okay, one, Maria's voice is a little bit creepy. It seems like she's a really adult voice coming out of this sweet little child's body. Also, I love this music. It's really cute.
よって本日をもちまして、当家顧問錬金術師のお役目を終了させていただきますことをどうかご了承くださいませ。
くだらん。ざれ言だ。
聞くに耐えません。
さてここで皆様に契約の一部をご説明しなければなりません。私ベアトリーチェは金蔵様にある条件とともに莫大な黄金の貸与をいたしました。その条件とは、契約終了時に黄金の全てを返還すること、そして利息としてUshiromiya家の全てを頂戴できるというものです。
Well, that's not good for any of them. They're all going to be dirt poor, I suppose.
むちゃくちゃや。
初めっからむちゃくちゃだぜ。
要するにあれだろ、よくある悪魔の契約みたいなやつなんだろ。ほんで契約がおしまいってことになるから利子を回収に来たってわけだ。
I mean, from earlier, it did sound like Beatrice is actually just a demon. Like, would you even call her a normal witch? She makes contracts and takes people's souls as collateral.
いいや長年の退職金のつもりかな。ちゃっかりした魔女だぜ。
Oh, what a cheeky witch.
バトラ君、今は茶化さない方がいい。
Battler made a face as if to ask, if I can't make fun of this, what can I make fun of? Some of the adults' faces were pale, while others looked dazed. Well, they're basically all poor now. That's the only way to put it.
これだけをお聞きならば、皆様は金蔵様のことをなんと無慈悲なのかとお嘆きにもなられるでしょう。しかし金蔵様は皆様に富と名誉を残す機会を設けるため、特別な条項を追加されました。その条項が満たされた時に限り、私は黄金と利子を回収する権利を永遠に失います。
特別な条項？
It has to be the epitaph.
それは何よ。
特別条項。契約終了時にベアトリーチェは黄金と利子を回収する権利を持つ。ただし隠された契約の黄金を暴いた者が現れた時、ベアトリーチェはこの権利を全て永遠に放棄しなければならない。利子の回収はこれより行いますが、もし皆様のうちの誰か一人でも特別条項を満たせたなら、すでに回収した分も含めて全てお返しいたします。
So the thing about the killings and the sacrifices is also part of the contract. So if the terms of the contract aren't fulfilled because somebody finds the gold, that's why everybody would be returned, I suppose. It's a bit weird.
なお回収の手始めとしてすでに後ろ宮本家の家督を受け継いだことを示す後ろ宮家当主の指輪をお預かりさせていただきました。
Of course, he threw the ring out of the window, didn't he? So that's how she's done it.
封印のろうそくにてそれをどうかご確認くださいませ。
これがそうだというのか。
Oh, Kraus does not look happy at all.
親父が指輪を手放すなどありえん。
Kraus stared at the sealing wax, as if trying to burn a hole through it. Ava and Rudolph were doing the same over his shoulder.
確かにチェスの時、金蔵さんの指に何か足りんような違和感は感じ取りました。
南條先生、おぼろげな記憶でいい加減なことを言わないように。その心眼をここでは測れないわ。本当に指輪をおじい様は誰かに手渡したのか、この手紙が本当の話かどうかはおじい様に直接確認すればいいだけの話じゃない。そうね、桐江さんの言う通りだわ。
果たして金蔵さんがそれを答えてくれますかな。あの人のお考えは時に人の世の常識では測りかねますからな。どの道ざれ言の域を伝も。第一、黄金幻想自体が親父殿のまやかしだ。
I don't know, it's starting to seem pretty legitimate to me.
ありもしない黄金の話を始めるのはお前たちだけで十分だ。
でも魔女様はおっしゃってるわよ。黄金を見つけた者に家督と全ての財産を引き渡すってね。つまりベアトリーチェ様はお父様の顧問弁護士もしくは金庫番でもあられるってことじゃないのかしら。このような怪しげな文章を子供に託すような怪人物を信用することなどできません。
兄貴、腹を割ってもらうぜ。兄貴の知らない人物が親父の財産管理をしているようなことはあり得るのか。いや、それはない。私は当主代行として親父殿の全ての財産を把握している。私に知られずにそれらを自由にできる人間はいないはずだ。
じゃあつまり クラウス兄さんの把握していない財産ってことじゃないの？
バカな、そんなものあるわけがない。
あるわよ。兄さんが把握していないお父様にそんなものあるわけがありません。
Well, we already know that the ring is an asset that he has that they couldn't control because he's given it to someone else.
いや、あるで。それがお父さんの、いや、ベアトリーチェの隠し黄金や。
Well, I suppose that as well, but
話を整頓しよう。つまり親父には兄貴も知らない腹心がいた。そしてそいつはずっと黄金の番と運用を任されてきたわけだ。あるいは悪魔の契約まがいのルールで融資した神塚の大富豪。その腹心のベアトリーチェさんは自分の黄金を融資する相手として息子兄弟の誰がふさわしいか試したいということなのかしら。
Hilie's question was one that all the siblings wanted answered. Upon reflection, they realised that Kinzo's strange epitaph had hung in the hall beneath the witch's portrait for quite some time. Yes, they had plenty of time already to try and do it. And while it had long been whispered that whoever solved the puzzle would receive everything, no one had ever clearly stated it. It was just something that everyone had hoped might be true. And right here, right now, the thing they'd hoped for had been clearly stated in Beatrice's letter. It clearly specified that everything of the Ushiromiya family would be given to the one who found the gold.
黄金の隠し場所については、すでに金蔵様が私の肖像画の下に碑文にて公示されております。条件は、碑文を読むことができるものすべてに公平に。黄金を暴けたなら、私はすべてをお返しするでしょう。それではどうか今宵を金蔵様との知恵比べにて存分にお楽しみくださいませ。今宵が知的かつ優雅な夜になるよう心よりお祈りいたしております。
I think she chose a really good messenger. I think Maria's doing a really good job of with the atmosphere and she's reading it perfectly, so
黄金のベアトリーチェ。
お父さん、聞こえているはずです。返事をしてください。
the door to Kinzo's study was being violently, harshly beaten against over and over again like a percussion instrument. The yells coming from the other side belonged to Kraus, Rudolph, and sometimes Ava. It was the siblings who were trying to intrude upon Kinzo's study to question him about the truth behind that mysterious letter. Kinzo was eating. An elegant tablecloth was set over the desk, and the fabulous dinner that had adorned the table down in the dining hall was reproduced here. Kinzo continued his meal in silence. Shannon, taking away an empty plate, looked uncomfortably between the door being pounded on and Kinzo's face.
皆さんがお呼びですが、いかがいたしますか？
捨ておけ。神と我が晩餐は沈黙を尊ぶ。
黙らせます。
必要ない。我が耳には届いておらん。
See, I thought he only trusted Genji, but like all of the servants are just in his room constantly. Apart from Goda, I don't see him really trusting Goda very much. Kinzo enjoyed his food, apparently indifferent. Genji quietly lowered his head and took a single step back. As he did, Canon, who stood in reverse like a shadow behind and to the side of Genji, opened his mouth.
マリア様がベアトリーチェ様より手紙を受け取られたとのことで、その真偽を確かめたいのでしょう。
あやつめ、早速始めおったか。さあ、ベアトリーチェ、かけるコインに不足はあるまい。存分に今宵を楽しもうではないか。 負ける気はないぞ。お前の微笑みは永遠に私のものだ。もう一度見られるなら富も名誉も我が命すらも惜しくはない。さてルーレットは回り始めた。ボールはどのポケットに落ちるのか。ノワールかルージュか、それとも親の総取りか。さあ始めるがいいベアトリーチェ。私が再びお前に奇跡の力というものを見せてやる。
Well, everyone, that seems like a good place to end the video, and that was an exceptionally interesting episode in my opinion. So, it looks like Beatrice is starting whatever this is, the collection of her contract. And, oh, I can't wait to see what happens. Oh my god, it's going to be crazy. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more. And until next time, guys, goodbye!